like to acknowledge that we are meeting today on Treaty 1 land, the original lands of the Anishinaabe, Cree, Oji-Cree, Dakota, and Dene people, and on the homeland of the Métis Nation. Oh, Canada, our home and native land, true patriot love in all of us command. Carton bras et porter la paix, il sait porter la croix. Ton histoire est une épopée des plus brillants exploits. God keep our land glorious and free. Oh, Canada, we stand on guard for thee. Oh, Canada, we stand on guard for thee. Good morning, and thank you for joining the 12th Annual Remembrance Day service, which is also our second virtual Remembrance Day service held here at the Cenotaph in the St. Norbert Cemetery. It's been over a century since the First World War ended, and yet here we are using Facebook and YouTube, technology that would have seemed nothing less than magical in 1918, to stop here in 2021 to purposefully and collectively remember. Imagine walking into a library with over 20 million books. To give you an idea of how many books that is, if each one averaged about 3 centimeters thick and they were arranged tightly 20 shelves high, it would take more than 10 hours at a quick pace to simply walk by all of the books. Now, imagine that you're wandering through this dimly lit library filled with 100-year-old books. You can notice that old book smell of musty paper. You hear the muffled echoes of your footsteps as you walk, and every step takes you past never-ending rows and rows of books. Maybe you stop and slide one of the books off the shelf to take a look. You can feel the worn leather in your palm as you blow off some dust. You hear the crinkle of century-old paper as you open the pages. And maybe, in the style of Harry Potter, a face floats up out of the book. Maybe it's a face of a Russian soldier, shivering and hungry, or a Bulgarian nurse covered in blood and joking with her critically wounded patients, attempting to give them hope. It might be a war-torn British general or a 16-year-old Canadian who lied about their age to enlist. But every single one of these books contains the life of someone who died in the First World War. This doesn't include the people who returned home broken in mind or body. That's another identically sized library in which to house those souls. And every one of those stories contains a beginning that's a lot like ours. Growing up, eating meals with the family, laughing with friends. And every plot in these books has an unexpected twist when the entire world gets thrown into a state of violent chaos. And unlike our own stories, every one of those books contains a tale that stops before it ends. A father who doesn't get to watch his children grow up. Lovers who are never reunited. People with dreams they never get to follow. In our library, there is a section about 180 meters long, 10 shelves high, which is full of the lives of Canadians. And somewhere in that section are 13 soldiers whose names were etched in stone at the bottom of the Cenotaph in St. Norbert. In a few moments, the students from Collège St. Norbert Collegiate will read the names of these people along with a brief history of each of the soldiers. What we know about these 13 would fit on maybe one page of each book. Our collective memories can't hold the information from all of the shelves, but even though our remembrance is far from perfect, it is so important. So we just want to thank you for stopping your life for a few moments here in 2021 to acknowledge not just that these people died, but for which we are indelibly grateful, but the fact that they lived. We would like to welcome you after sometime on Remembrance Day to drive by or stop by the cemetery. There's a band of poppies around the cenotaph that you can leave a poppy on if you would like to, or some sort of remembrance, and participate with us in that way in this ceremony.
Private Francis Frank Cardinal. He was born on December 30th, 1898 in St. Norbert and worked as a laborer. He enlisted in the 250th White Eagles Battalion in Winnipeg on March 30th, 1917. He was killed in action in France by machine gun fire on August 9th, 1918. He was 19 years old. He was awarded the British War Medal, the Victory Medal, and the Memorial Cross.
Private Arthur Carrière. He was born on May 13th, 1893 in St. Adolphe and worked as a farmer. He was enlisted in the 1st Armoured Regiment, Royal Canadian Dragoons, on January 11th, 1918. He was killed in action in France by artillery fire on October 10th, 1918. He was 25 years old. He was awarded the British War Medal, the Victory Medal, and the Memorial Cross.
Private Roger Chatrand. He was born on December 22, 1894 in St. Norbert and worked as a farmer. He enlisted in the 78th Battalion, Canadian Infantry, on March 29, 1916. He was killed in action in France during a gas and artillery bombardment on January 31, 1918. He was 23 years old. He was awarded the British War Medal, the Victory Medal, and the Memorial Cross.
Private William Richardson Richard Fenton. He was born on June 1st, 1893 in Brown Hill, Ontario. He worked as a farmer. He enlisted in the Princess Patricia's Canadian Light Infantry on December 22, 1914. He was presumed killed in action on June 4th, 1916 in Belgium, but there is no known grave. He was 23 years old. He was awarded the 1914-1915 Star, the British War Medal, the Victory Medal, and the Memorial Cross.
Private Joseph Frobisher. He was born on December 1st, 1888 in St. Norbert. He worked as a teamster and was married. He enlisted in the 78th Battalion, Canadian Infantry on September 13th, 1916. He survived the war but died of pneumonia in France on November 19th, 1918, just 1 week after the armistice. He was 30 years old. He was awarded the British War Medal, the Victory Medal, and the Memorial Cross.
Private Alfred La Liberté. He was born on December 25th, 1880 in St. Norbert and worked as a driver. He enlisted in the 2nd Battalion, Canadian Infantry on September 27th, 1915. He was killed in action in France on October 6th, 1916. He was 35 years old. He was awarded the British War Medal, the Victory Medal, and the Memorial Cross.
Louis Lemort, soldat de deuxième classe. He was born on August 28, 1887 in Charlier, Loire, France. He was conscripted in the French army in March 1907. He was discharged and immigrated to Canada, where he became a teacher in St. Norbert. He was recalled to the French army on August 15, 1914, and served the 120e Régiment d'Infanterie. He was killed in action in Belgium on March 5, 1915. He was 27 years old. His service awards are unknown.
Private Alfred Oliver Lord. He was born on March 17, 1890, in St. Norbert and worked as a carpenter. He enlisted in the 21st Company Canadian Forestry Corps on January 31, 1917. He died of pneumonia in France on October 28, 1918. He was 28 years old. He was awarded the British War Medal and the Victory Medal.
Private James Normand. He was born on January 4th, 1896 in St. Norbert and worked as a farmer. He enlisted in the 8th Battalion, Canadian Infantry on April 4th, 1916. He was killed in action by poison gas in France on February 15th, 1918. He was 22 years old. He was awarded the British War Medal and the Victory Medal.
Private Joseph Albert Ryan. He was born on August 16, 1894 in St. Boniface. He later worked as a farmer. He enlisted in the 78th Battalion, Canadian Infantry on March 29, 1916. He was killed in action in Belgium on October 30, 1917. He was 23 years old. He was awarded the British War Medal and the Victory Medal.
Private Michael Ernest Ryan, brother of Joseph Albert Ryan. He was born on August 21st, 1895 in St. Boniface. He later worked as a farmer. He enlisted in the 14th Battalion, Canadian Infantry on April 18th, 1916. He was killed in action in France on August 9th, 1918. He was 23 years old. Like his brother, he was awarded the British War Medal and the Victory Medal.
Private Alfred Taylor. He was born on November 15, 1894 in London, England. He worked as a farmer. He enlisted in the 46th Battalion, Canadian Infantry on March 31st, 1916. He was killed in action in France on September 2nd, 1918. He was 24 years old. He was awarded the British War Medal, the Victory Medal, and the Memorial Cross.
Jules Élisée Sivard, soldat de deuxième classe. He was born on September 18, 1885 in Saint-Prien, Côte du Nord, France. He was conscripted into the French army on May 26, 1905. He was later discharged and immigrated to Canada in 1914. He married and worked as a gardener. He was recalled to the French army on August 2, 1914, and served with the Deuxième Régiment d'Infanterie Coloniale. He was killed in action in France on November 30th, 1914. He was 29 years old. His service awards are unknown.
After the guns are silent, after your wounds have healed, after those crosses been planted in all those fields, after that long boat ride all the way across the sea, and after this train carries thee, I will love you after the war. I'll love you always and forevermore. Oh, I will love you after the war, forever, for always and more. After my boots dried and the tobacco's all but gone, along with the postcards I've carried under my arm, after I remember all the words I couldn't say, and after this long night fades away, I will love you after the war. I'll love you always and forevermore. Oh, I will love you after the war, forever, for always and more. After this blackbird lifts out from off your chest, and after your soul takes its final rest, my love, please forgive me. I never planned to die, and love placed 2 pennies on my eyes.
Flanders Fields
Au champ d'honneur.
by John McCrae. In Flanders Fields the poppies blow, between the crosses row on row that mark our place, and in the sky the larks, still bravely singing, fly, scarce heard amid the guns below.
Nous sommes morts, nous qui singons la vie encore, à nos parents, à nos amis, c'est nous qui reposons ici, au champ d'honneur.
Take up our quarrel with the foe, to you from failing hands we throw, the torch be yours to hold it high, if ye break faith with us who die, we shall not sleep though poppies grow in Flanders Fields.
Acceptez le défi, sinon les coquelicots se faront au champ d'honneur.
They shall not grow old, as we that are left grow old. Age shall not weary them, nor the years condemn. At the going down of the sun, and in the morning, we shall remember them. We shall remember them.
to remember. They were young as we are young. They served, giving freely of themselves. To them we pledge, amid the winds of time, to carry their touch and never forget. We will remember them.
Le 11 novembre est le jour du souvenir. C'est une journée sur 365 qui est réservée à tous ceux et celles qui se sont sacrifiés et à tous ceux et celles qui continuent à se sacrifier pour le bien-être des autres, pour le bien-être de notre pays. C'est au nom de la division scolaire franco-manitobaine que j'ai le privilège de commémorer avec vous le courage des hommes et des femmes qui ont participé aux grandes guerres mondiales. En raison de mon expérience personnelle, 5 missions outre-mer, ainsi que de nombreuses opérations domestiques et internationales sur 42 ans de service, j'accorde personnellement beaucoup de valeur au jour du souvenir, ainsi qu'à la semaine des vétérans. Par leur contribution, les Canadiennes et les Canadiens ont fait savoir de leur présence sur la scène nationale, ainsi que sur la scène mondiale. Nous étions, et nous le sommes toujours, des champions mondiaux. Ici à Saint-Norbert, c'est la vie de 13 hommes en particulier que nous tenons à honorer aujourd'hui. 13 hommes qui habitaient les rues, qui habitaient dans une maison ou un rang du voisinage avant de partir pour la guerre et qui ne sont jamais revenus. Il est fort probable que la division scolaire franco-manitobaine compte parmi son personnel et ses élèves des petits-enfants ou des arrière-petits-enfants de ces hommes. Il est encore plus probable que certains de ses descendants fréquentent les écoles de Saint-Norbert. Qu'ils soient liés ou non à une école du quartier, ces hommes morts au combat demeurent des exemples de générosité et de loyauté pour nos élèves et ils méritent d'être honorés aujourd'hui et à jamais. La plupart des élèves n'ont jamais connu la guerre. Les nouveaux immigrants ont connu, certains ont vécu des moments difficiles dans leur pays, mais la grande majorité des élèves, ils entendent que les histoires de la guerre dans les cours d'histoire, dans les livres qu'ils lisent ou dans les discussions de classe. Mais quand on vit loin dans la paix, on oublie facilement qu'ailleurs dans le monde, la guerre est une réalité qui continue de faire de nombreuses victimes. En ce jour du souvenir, il est important de s'arrêter et de penser à ceux qui ont donné leur vie pour leur patrie. Pensez à ces 13 hommes de Saint-Norbert en particulier et à penser à tous ceux qui continuent encore aujourd'hui de vivre et de mourir dans des pays en guerre. Gardez notre histoire bien vivante et chérir le courage et l'esprit de sacrifice de ceux qui ont servi le Canada avec tant de fierté et qui l'ont façonné pour qu'il devienne le grand pays que l'on connaît aujourd'hui. Nous nous souviendrons.
On behalf of the St. Norbert Métis, thank you. We gather on the original lands of the Anishinaabe, Cree, Oji-Cree, Dakota, and Dene people, and on the homeland of the Red River Métis Nation. November 11th, Remembrance Day, is the day we all honor and remember the brave men and women of our military forces who have served and continue to serve during times of war, conflict, peace, to give us and others freedom. Since our beginning, the Métis have been involved in both regular and irregular military activities. Our ancestors participated in many battles before the World Wars. Traditional Métis soldiers were well organized. The paramilitary organization of their buffalo hunts provided the Métis with a command structure and discipline which few could match. Many Métis men brought valuable skills with them when they joined the Canadian military. Patience, stealth, and marksmanship were well-honed traits for those who came from communities where hunting was a cornerstone of daily life. These attributes helped many of the soldiers become successful snipers, the military sharpshooters, and reconnaissance scouts whose skills gathered information on enemy positions. The sacrifice and contributions made by Métis veterans to ensure peace and prosperity for Canada and its allies remain largely unknown. Métis soldiers returned from war without compensation or recognition. The Métis Nation's leaders have developed a Métis Veteran Legacy Program. One of their initiatives is a special commemorative program. It has been established to support the efforts of Métis communities to honor their veterans. Funding is available to support projects that aim to create public spaces with monuments to gather and honor veterans, host ceremonies, or create education initiatives. The goal is to support the many ways Métis people honor and celebrate veterans. We encourage Métis citizens to work together to develop veterans commemorative projects in their communities. In closing, I would like to share this poem. The author is unknown. I do not know your name, nor for which battle you died. I do not know your home, nor the tears that were cried. I do not know where you rest, nor the promises broken. I do not know your uniform, and your fears lay unspoken. But I know your spirit exists, that your courage is admired, your sacrifice is honored, by each soul's inspired. And I offer you from my heart, thank you. To guardians unknown for offering yourselves to us all, that we may keep our freedom, our homeland. Honor your veterans, our heroes, today, tomorrow, and forever. We remember.
On behalf of the Government of Canada, Mr. Terry Duguid, Member of Parliament for Winnipeg South. On behalf of the Royal Canadian Mounted Police, Sergeant Paul Meneg. On behalf of the Royal Canadian Navy, HMCS Chippewa, Lieutenant Commander Alan Fillingham, and Petty Officer Second Class Catherine Canton. On behalf of the Canadian Army, the Fort Garry Horse, Corporal Lachlan Hunter, and Corporal Zach Reynolds. On behalf of the Royal Canadian Air Force, 402 Squadron, Second Lieutenant Gordon Tate. On behalf of the National Métis Veterans Association, CSNC student Mr. Alexander Lapointe. On behalf of the National Métis Veterans Association, Deb DeGrees Clark. On behalf of the St. Norbert Veterans Memorial Association, Mr. Mark Halady. On behalf of the province of Manitoba, Ms. Janice Morley-Lecomte, member of the Legislative Assembly for Seine River. On behalf of the St. Norbert Parish, La Barriere Métis Council, Ms. Joanne Paget and Ms. Lee Clark. On behalf of the City of Winnipeg, Mr. Marcus Chambers, Councillor for St. Norbert Seine River, and Ms. Janice Lukes, Councillor for Waverley. On behalf of the Winnipeg Police Service, Sergeant Andy Wall. On behalf of the community, Mr. John Thompson from the Medicine Shop. On behalf of the education community in St. Norbert, co-superintendents for the Seine River School Division, Ms. Elaine Lockheed and Monsieur Simon Laplante. Monsieur Bernard Deshotel, principal at École Précieuse Sang. Mr. Chris Zunn, principal at Collège Saint-Norbert Collegiate. Mr. Raphael Borelli and Madame Carole Hébert, vice principals, Collège Saint-Norbert Collegiate. On behalf of the Fraternal Order of Eagles, Airy number 3870, Mr. Claude Fouillard. On behalf of the Winnipeg South Lions Club, Mr. Ron Novotny. On behalf of the Janakis family, Mr. Peter Janakis. On behalf of Pembina Active Living, Ms. Valerie Slater and Margaret Wilcock. On behalf of the Girl Guides of Canada, Ms. Avery Page, Ms. Claire Fisher, and Ms. Elsbeth Fisher. On behalf of the Bloomfield family, Quinn Bloomfield and Alex Bloomfield. In memory of the 13 veterans recognized on the Cenotaph, family of the fallen, cousin of Richard Fenton, Mrs. Harolyn Capstick, and cousin of James Normand, Mrs. Deb Degrees Clark. Once again, thank you for joining us virtually for the St. Norbert Remembrance Day Ceremony 2021. Please feel free to drive by or walk by the St. Norbert Cemetery and put a poppy on the cenotaph if you would like to, in remembrance of the soldiers who died in the war. And hopefully next year we will be able to see all of you in person.